You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Well, it's got to be a big day for the three hosts of the Show Before the Show podcast because Sam Dykstra is wearing like a real professional shirt. It's a big day. It's got to be a big day.
Yeah, it's one of the most pro shirts you're ever going to see.
I don't know what it says about me that I walked in here this morning wearing a suit. I am not currently wearing my jacket. I am just wearing a button-down shirt. You can't even see like my nice pants, Tyler, and this stands out to you that my shirt has buttons.
I was like, whoa, excuse me, Rockefeller.
There's a collar on this thing. There are multiple buttons. All of a sudden, it's not a polo. Multiple people have been like, "Oh, what's up with you today?
What's the occasion, Sam?"
Yeah. Can a guy just dress nicely? Or what does this say about me in my everyday attire?
Yeah, usually he's wearing like a Garfield "I Hate Mondays" shirt. It doesn't have to be Monday.
He wears it every day of the
It's
week.
important that the people know my feelings on Mondays. And lasagna.
Well, welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. My name is Tyler Mon, hanging out in a hotel room in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is the first time this winter sports season that I've had to record an episode of the Show Before the Show from the road, which is kind of fun.
And in a minor league town, no less.
And in a minor league town. I am planning, hopefully, if things work out today, I'm going to try to go check out the Greenwood district of Tulsa, go wander by One OK Field. I also don't, is it One OK? One Oak? What is it?
It's One Oak, yeah.
Oak.
I used to call it Oniok. It's Oneok.
Yeah, which is the name of a bank, right?
It's the name of some
or some
corporation.
Sort of institution. But OK being the abbreviation for Oklahoma, I would have thought it was One OK, but it's One Oak. Whatever. But I do want to see the home of the Tulsa Drillers. I would like to do that. There's also apparently some like incredible architecture in downtown Tulsa, so I'm hoping to go wander through that. And then I got to do a college basketball game tonight, and then head home tomorrow. But Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra in the palatial confines of MLB HQ, which is not pronounced hook. And what's going on, guys? It's a very busy week. Hall of Fame announcements, top 100. It's a fun week for baseball fans, getting closer and closer to spring training.
Yeah, definitely a busier week for Sam Dykstra than it is for yours truly, old Ben's Biz, with all this prospect analysis going on.
I'm just gonna have Ben start doing my blurbs next year, just to see how that goes and see if the readers can tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be pretty much the same.
Yeah. I like that. I like that idea. I feel like Ben would have a lot more of the fun facts of like my favorite thing in the blurbs, the top 100 blurbs, is always like the last paragraph is like, this guy was related to somebody who played, for the 1946 Brooklyn Dodgers, and his nickname was Spuds McGee. And you're like, it's fun. That's always like the like fun notes at the bottom. This guy was a 7-sport athlete in high school. I like those things. I feel like Ben would have a lot of those.
Yeah, that would be my entire blurb and be like, well, wait, what about his skills as a player? I was like, who cares? I mean, he'll either get there. Yeah, he'd get there or he doesn't. Like, we'll find out. Just turn on the major league game. If he's there, he did well. Who cares?
Oh, man.
Every blurb ends with check back in 5 years.
Yeah.
Check back after his career is over, and we'll see. For him. Well, we got a lot to talk about in this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We thank you for hanging out with us. You can, of course, get in touch, podcast at MILB.com, as so many friends and fans of the show have been doing in recent days and weeks and months and such. And as we kick things off on this week's episode, we're going to kind of go down that route because last week we discussed a story/newsletter entry from Ben in which he talked about notable celebrities who at one time played minor league baseball. And Ben, you got a lot of feedback on this, specifically about one former minor leaguer, but there's a caveat to that former minor leaguer's career because he also played in the big leagues, which is something that we discussed last week, was not included in the results. But give us the rundown of what people have been getting back to you on the celebs in minor league baseball conversation.
Yeah, this article, we talked about it a lot last week. You can find it on MLB.com, MILB.com. It was in the newsletter. I made the decision going into the story, which, as I was just telling you guys, I should have maybe made explicit in the article intro, of the people that I'm featuring in this story, all of whom went on to success in other fields after playing minor league baseball, only played minor league baseball. I just made that distinction, as opposed to Major League Baseball as well. I made that distinction just because there was a lot of people to potentially include, and the story was getting long as it was. So one person I did not include in the story of someone who played minor league baseball who went on to stardom, because he also played in the major leagues, was Chuck Connors, best known as the star of the Rifleman. He played, was it Lucas McLean, I believe? Some cool sounding name like that. Lucas McCain. Now I got to find it. Anyway, yeah, Lucas McCain. I got more emails about one specific thing than I have in months, with people just saying, hey, enjoyed the article, or hey, what about Chuck Connors? Hey, Chuck Connors. I believe you left off Chuck Connors, which shows that I have a lot of baby boomers in my core demographic, because Chuck Connors was they were probably kids when Chuck Connors was at his most prominent in the late 50s, early 60s, although he did act all the way up until essentially his death in the early 90s. But yeah, Chuck Connors, an actor for decades, again, best known in The Rifleman. His first love and his first pursuit was baseball. So he played a lot of years in minor league baseball, and it was kind of interesting to look at his career, because he played in a lot of places that I'd never really thought of much. He grew up rooting for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and the first place he played was for the Newport, Arkansas Dodgers in 1941. That didn't last long. He got released, and then he came back with the Yankees in the Yankees organization. Man, I could not. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job here. There we go. Anyway, 1940, Class D, Newport, Arkansas Dodgers. Got released from the Dodgers organization, went to the Yankees with the Newport Tars. Then was in World War II for a while. Came back in 1946. Now Sam's in charge of my scrolling, since I can't make it happen. There you go. Thank you, Sam. And actually, I think you can just touch the screen. I should have been doing that all along. Then he came back to the Brooklyn Dodgers organization, played in Newport News in Virginia. So it's interesting. He started his career with the Newport Dodgers, who played in Newport, Arkansas. And then in 1946, 6 years later, he played for Newport News in Virginia.
I didn't even know there was a Newport, Arkansas. Sorry.
Yeah, I did not either. They have not had professional baseball for a long time. Then he played a little bit in Mobile and 3 seasons with the Montreal Royals, an absolute powerhouse of a Dodgers farm team in the International League, best known for Jackie Robinson playing his debut season there in 1946. Chuck Connors was there just a few years after Jackie played for them. Chuck Connors played in 1 game for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1949, but also appeared in 66 games for the Cubs in 1951. In addition to that, he played in the NBA. He was on the first Boston Celtics team ever, the 1946-47 Celtics. So I'm surprised Sam doesn't have a Chuck Connors jersey somewhere.
Yeah. Do you see
that Chuck Connors? Oh, wait.
Yeah. Oh, it's the guy who played for the Celtics.
Underneath this
Yeah.
nice shirt that I'm wearing.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a professional career that lasted almost throughout the 40s, and had a stint in the NBA, 2 stints in the major leagues, a lot of different minor league baseball teams. And then finally in the early 50s, he's in his 30s at that point, gave up on his professional sporting dreams and went to Hollywood and became a star. So for anyone who listened to me talk last week and did not mention Chuck Connors, and for everyone who read the newsletter or the corresponding article and said, where's Chuck Connors? All I can say is, I'm sorry. I left him out because he played in Major League Baseball, but I hope you enjoyed my attempt to give Chuck Connors his due, the Rifleman.
I've never seen that show.
Nor have I. I mean, that was from an era of TV where,
yeah,
look at the top 10 TV shows any given year, and 6 of them were Westerns. It was just a...
that really is true.
It really is.
And it was a monoculture at the time. Like you only had a handful, not
Yeah,
even
you only had 3 channels in the first place.
right.
Yeah. And there were westerns galore. I mean, so many stories. And the show was on for 5 years. They got 168 episodes. I mean, what a machine.
Because they used to make TV shows like they make soaps now.
That
Yeah.
is crazy.
It was just like, here's what we're filming today. Let's get this done. We'll move on to the next one, and just keep moving, keep the train moving.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now there'd be like one successful season with like 8 episodes, and like 4 years later, people be like, it's coming back. It's finally coming back.
I mean, Severance right now, it's been 3 years
Yeah.
between seasons, and everybody's trying to catch up and be like, wait, what happened? I know I like this show.
Yeah.
Rifleman, everybody knew what was happening week to week.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, what's going on? Oh yeah, this guy. He's a
That
widowed
is true.
father, strong man in the West. He's good with a rifle. All right, I'm good.
Yeah, we're good.
Was anybody else suggested, Ben, who we neglected to pick up on from the celebrity conversation?
Yeah, there were multiple, and I don't have that up, and
It
now
can't be like, oh, this guy was the backup bassist for this band that had one hit song in 1979. Like that doesn't count. But was there?
Yeah,
I was
there were-
hoping
I-
that maybe there was somebody that was like, oh, what? Will Smith played minor league baseball? What?
yeah, there were absolutely others that people mentioned.
I mean, Will Smith did play minor league baseball.
Not
Yeah,
that
I
Will
did
Smith,
baseball.
Sam.
Well, the other Will Smith.
Multiple Will Smiths.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I
I
got a
guess I could have
lot
thrown out any other celebrity. That's true.
because I seem like unable to use my computer a lot. Here's somebody. Somebody texted or wrote me, Gene Connolly. Didn't he play Celtics basketball and Red Sox? Deion Sanders, Braves and Falcons. Again, that was known like more for major leagues.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there were quite a few other ones, and I'm scrolling through my inbox, but most of them were Chuck Connors as we're going through here. Johnny Berardino of General Hospital fame played with San Antonio before joining the Browns and later played in the PCL.
Huh.
He was supposedly the only person to have his footprints on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and got a World Series ring with Cleveland in 1948.
Wow, the Satchel Paige Cleveland team.
Longtime reader Lloyd Kern. Another Celtic, Bill Sharman, Sam.
I mean, then we could say like Danny Ainge, like
Right.
We could,
I didn't go too much into sporting celebrities outside of John Elway with a little kind of sidebar on other NFL guys, and of course
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, who's in his own category.
Category.
So yeah, I'm sure there's more. There's some that we had an internal list that I was going off of based on like all the stuff we've done over the years on the site, and I left some stuff off. Readers suggested some more, so we can return to this topic. But just know that Chuck Connors is the main guy.
Eddie Alvarez, former Olympic
speed
medalist
skater.
and guest on the show before the show, but also a big leaguer. Speed skating legend. It's pretty cool. If you know of a celebrity who we have neglected, who played at one time in minor league baseball, please get in touch, podcast@milb.com. And all right, well, let's move on from that, Ben. We are still in the era of the offseason in which we are getting alternate identities announced to the world. Feels like every year now we come into January and it's like, well, what is Akron going to do to honor a local food item or trend or culture of some kind? This year it is the Akron Galley Boys. I have no idea what that is. Please explain.
Yeah, I mean Akron, we've seen a lot of food related promos over the last couple of years. The JoJo's, which is like they're celebrated, or at least in Akron, celebrated dish of potato side dish, kind of similar to French fries, but of course not. They're JoJo's. Sauerkraut balls, white French, representing Akron's unique style of French dressing. Those are three off the top of my head. I think there's been more than that. But yeah, Galley Boys is a reference to, quote, the iconic hamburger cooks who worked in small galley kitchens similar to what might be found on ships to feed Akron and much of Northeast Ohio for more than 90 years. And it's referencing, a fast food boom that started in the 1940s in Akron with places like Swenson's, Skyway, and Dilly's. And I looked all three of them up. They're still around the Akron area today. Swenson's actually has a burger called the Galley Burger on their menu. It just looks like a real solid cheeseburger. So they're paying homage to these galley boy cooks in all these fast food restaurants, starting in the 1940s. The logo, though, is a hamburger with an olive sticking out of it, a toothpick olive sticking out of the bun, swinging a bat, which it's fine as anthropomorphic baseball playing hamburgers go. But I think because it's Galley Boys, I was hoping to see some approximation of an actual Galley Boy. I kind of like the idea of some guy in a stained white t-shirt with like a little paper cap, cigarettes sitting out, is hanging out of his mouth. Maybe, probably not. Um, but they just went with the hamburger itself. And we're entering an era of hamburger logos for sure because the Hub City Spartan Burgers are set to debut in 2025. But now we have this hamburger alternate identity, the Galley Boys in Akron. And yeah, if you've ever been to Swenson's, Skyway, or Dilly's in Akron, let us know how it is. Like I like the websites for these places because they have that iconic, drive through or not drive through, drive in routes, where you get served in your car, and it's always cool to see that kind of thing. So the Galley Boys coming to Akron, Ohio, June 27th and June 28th. Seems like we're talking about the Eastern League a lot because Akron in the Eastern League, Bathtub Donkeys in Binghamton, who we interviewed Eddie Saunders with the team last week, they're in the Eastern League. We had Greg and Kevin Coleman talking about Kevin's new book, also from Erie in the Eastern League. Hey,
Somerset coming out with the Jersey Diners logo today of steak and eggs.
yeah, state and eggs.
Steaks and eggs,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, the as Sam mentioned, State and Eggs in Somerset. Obviously, they had a huge success with diners, so they just launched a specific State and Eggs cap. Sam, are you going to be wearing that?
I already have my Diners hat, and I think I'm covered on that one. And I prefer the nice, strong cup of coffee, maybe in honor of David Lynch. But if you are a state and egger, I highly recommend this one. Like you said, it's in the shape. The steak itself is in the shape of the state of New Jersey, which is really neat and very creative. And we were saying this last year, right? Like they had a whole set of other marks beyond just the Jersey Diners, beyond just the cup of coffee that I was hoping they would start incorporating. It seems like they're doing that now, and maybe they do this over multiple years. They had a new cap for the diner. So right now it's steak and eggs. I'm sure they're going to be moving hot and fast.
Yeah, which begs the question: if you went to a diner or a restaurant of any kind that serves steaks, and you could get the steak in the shape of a state, what state would you choose?
My state is the most boring shape. My state and Wyoming. Um, I'm very partial, and Omaha did this in recent years. They had what were they? The Sizzle.
Yeah, the sizzle.
So they had a Nebraska shaped steak. I still think that the coolest shaped state is I think Texas is the coolest shaped state. I've had this thought way more often than I care to admit. Like if I had to pick a state based on cool shape, my road roommate Evan Morton is telling me the state of Maryland, which happens to be his home state, but he votes for the state of Maryland. I don't know, Texas, it's like it's all the culture. You could slap a cowboy hat right on top of the panhandle, which I don't know why they call that northern part the panhandle, but it just seems so destined for its culture. I like the shape of the state of Texas, but it feels
Yeah,
like
you
you would
just,
have to,
you
you
just
wouldn't just
call it
like,
a Texas-sized steak. I mean, it just the copy writes itself.
yeah, you couldn't just like come across a steak that happens to be that shape though. Like theoretically, you could kind of do that with Nebraska because it's just like a blob with a thing on the side, which is their panhandle. Texas is like there's a whole lot of different moving parts to it.
Well,
Uh,
see, that's why I was thinking Montana, because Montana
oh
feels
yeah,
like in the
Montana could
eastern
work.
part, feels like you were saying with Colorado and Wyoming, like it's a very square shape, but then everything
Right.
that's along that Idaho border there
Yeah,
feels
very
extra. Like
jagged.
you just got a little
Yeah,
bit extra added to your
yeah,
steak.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why Montana came to mind for me.
That's the marbled part of the steak.
There you go.
Ben?
I go with an Alaska. I mean, it'd be the biggest steak, try to get the biggest bang for the buck, and it would have this nice little like kind of tail on it, nice little like charred bits leading up to this nice substantial big block of a cut. So I go with that.
I like that idea. You too can get in touch and tell us about your steak preferences. All right, you guys. Hall of Famers announced this week. No surprise, Ichiro makes it in on the first ballot. We're not gonna dive into the discourse around the one voter who did not vote for Ichiro. But in addition to Ichiro, CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner also make it into the Hall of Fame. We have a twofold conversation here. One, we're going to talk about some of the minor league stops of CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner's career. Two, we have a point about Ichiro that we are going to discuss on the other side because Ichiro is an interesting case as it relates to us, the official podcast of minor league baseball. But first, Sam, or Ben, rather, CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner was in kind of the last era of minor league baseball. But give us the rundown on their trips through the minors.
Yeah, these are 90s guys, or 90 for in CC's case, 90s into the year 2000. CC obviously came up in the Cleveland organization, and he started his career in 1998 with the Burlington, North Carolina Indians of the Appalachian League. I was able to visit Burlington twice when they were not an Indians affiliate, but when they were in the Appalachian League, when the Appalachian League was affiliated. They were the Royals at the time. And last year I went back to Burlington, and they're now in the summer collegiate era in the Appy League, of course. And so last year I saw the sock puppets. But what I will say, and this has been the case all three times I've visited Burlington, North Carolina, Burlington Athletic Stadium, a stadium that was constructed in Danville, Virginia, and then taken apart, moved by train to Burlington. That's where CC started his minor league career. And in the men's room at this beautiful old ballpark, they have paintings above each of the urinals and above one of the bathroom stalls of the jerseys of great team alumni, and CC Sabathia is in the men in a stall right there.
Is that like jersey. A special level of honorific?
I would think so. I mean, or I don't know. Maybe it means he's like number 2 and the other guys are number 1.
The man made the Hall of Fame. We don't need to be making these.
I don't know. I don't know what constitutes their men's room places of honor, but
probably just like what spot on the wall was free by the time.
Yeah, but he's right. He got the CC jersey painted right above the men's room stall, and now they're gonna have, like they did with Tommy, who's above one of the urinals. Now they're gonna have to add little gold stripe at the top and write Hall of Fame. So I'm looking forward to seeing that next time I go to Burlington and take in that beautiful restroom. He went from there to in 1999, 3 teams in 1999, Columbus. Columbus, Ohio was a Cleveland affiliate for a long time. But no, of course, we're talking about the other Columbus, a Columbus set to welcome back minor league baseball in 2025 via the Columbus Clingstones, a AA affiliate of the Atlanta Braves. They're playing their first season in Columbus. But CC played in the previous era of Columbus, Georgia minor league baseball for the awkwardly named Red Sticks, the RED, then no space, capital S, TIXX. So we got some time in with the Columbus Red Sticks. Also in the New York Penn League, Class A short season, where he probably started in 1999 with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. And he also spent time in Kinston in Class A Advanced Kinston of the Carolina League back when they were the Kinston Indians in 1999 and 2000. In 2000, he also went up to AA with the Akron Arrows. Of course, now they're the Rubber Ducks, but then now they're a Cleveland affiliate. And that was it for CC's career. At the ages of 17, 18, and 19, he played, throughout the Cleveland system, never did get to AAA, skipped it right over. And from 2000 on, he was, with the exception of a handful of rehab appearances here and there, he was in the major leagues, as you'd expect from a Hall of Famer. They usually don't go up and down too much once they break in. But it is good to look back and see that was the structure of the Cleveland system at the time. And yes, he is honored in the men's room in Burlington, North Carolina.
As all legends are.
Yeah, and one thing I just kind of want to highlight on this is and we're going to talk about this later, Tyler, in terms of top 100 prospects now and when guys are moving up and what the career of a top 100 prospect looks like. CC Sabathia is basically it. Like you were saying, Ben, skipping over AAA, dominating the lower levels, moving quickly, moving in season, striking out guys left and right. When he debuted in 2001, he was the youngest player in the major leagues. He debuted on April 8th, 2001 against the Baltimore Orioles and then kind of stuck around. He was second in AL voting for the rookie of the year that year behind, anybody want to guess?
In 2001,
Ichiro.
Ichiro.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe CC Sabathia would have a rookie of the year award if only that would help his Cooperstown case. That's a real shame.
That's interesting because CC was like the youngest rookie in baseball that year, and
and
Ichiro was the oldest.
Yeah. Remember that
mean,
discourse? Remember the whole, he shouldn't be allowed to win Rookie of the Year. He's been playing professionally elsewhere. Remember that?
Yeah, everyone who argued that weirdly spoke in that voice. That's what I remember most.
We were all on Twitter in 2001, and we were all having that fiery debate.
Nerds.
It's probably in AOL forums is actually where that was happening. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy how he showed up to the major leagues with so much promise, with not even having been tested in AAA yet, and then just kept lasting. I saw a lot of people remembering this part of his career. Remember that run with the Brewers, man?
Oh, yeah. You know what's crazy about that is like when I look back on that season, I think, oh yeah, remember when CC went like 28-1 with a 0.36 ERA? And like his numbers were normal-ish, but he was just that dominant that he is like outsized in your memory from that season of when he was traded from Cleveland to Milwaukee, the stretch run with the Brewers, getting them into the postseason. Like he was so incredible that year that you look back and the numbers are like, they're still great numbers, obviously, but that's how great he was, is that you think of him as like he was superhuman that year.
Yeah, he was traded on July 7th, 2008. Finished the year with the Brewers. He finished 6th in NL MVP voting. He wasn't in the NL in April, May, and June, and yet he still was 6th because everybody was just so wowed by how good he did in that stretch. And I really appreciate that because that's like, yes, we could look back on it and be like, oh, should he have finished 6th? He was only there for half a year. But like now we're sitting here, he's on the moment of Cooperstown, and that's something that kids are going to ask about decades from now.
His numbers with the Brewers.
How did this happen? And
with the Tribe to start the year, he made 18 starts. Then went to Milwaukee and made 17. And in those 17 starts with Milwaukee, he threw 7 complete games and 3 shutouts, which like baseball nowadays, in entire seasons, it feels like every pitcher in the big leagues can't combine for 7 complete games. He threw 7 complete games down the stretch, 1.65 ERA. He struck out 128 and walked 25 in 130 and 2/3 innings. He was not an all-star that season, by the way, which again traded at a strange time, and his numbers were not eye-popping with Cleveland to start the year. But like, holy cow, man! I know he's going into the Hall of Fame as a Yankee and spent the 11 years that he did with the Yankees. But wouldn't it be funny if he was just like, hey, I mean, what better could I have done than that half a season with the Brewers? I'm going in as a member of the Brew Crew. That would be incredible.
Well, except it ended with Shane Victorino hitting a grand slam off him in the 2008 Division Series after he walked Brett Myers. So
Ben's just like, you had it too good for too long, Sabathia. Don't you forget that grand slam by Shane Victorino.
Clearly he was amazing with Milwaukee that year, and to me it was always reminiscent of Randy Johnson's Astros career.
Yes.
Very similar. In which I went to one of the few games that Randy Johnson didn't win as an Astro because Ron Gant hit a home run off the foul pole to tie the game in like the 8th inning. It was awesome. But yeah, Randy Johnson was similar, just a midseason acquisition, already an ace, and then just incredible for the 1.5 season he played. I guess for Randy Johnson, that was in between his Mariners and where'd he go from there? Diamondbacks career.
Yeah, D-backs.
Yeah.
And again, these guys are tied together, right? Because CC Sabathia and Randy Johnson are one of only 3 left-handers in history to record 3,000 strikeouts.
Yeah, and the other being Steve Carlton,
who recorded another Phillies,
who recorded 4,000 strikeouts. The crazy thing about Steve Carlton and 4,000 strikeouts is he was released by the Phillies with 18 strikeouts to go. Then he went to the San Francisco Giants where he recorded exactly 18 strikeouts. Wow. And then he still didn't retire. Never forget Steve Carlton, a member of the White Sox, Indians, and Twins.
That's pretty amazing. The other selection, Billy Wagner, who had a tremendous run with the Astros, with Ben's Phillies, which I kind of forget about Billy Wagner with the Phillies, 2004, 2005. And then with the Mets, of course, for 4 seasons. And it's so funny because I think of him as an Astro and a Met, but not just the Phillies in addition to that. He also spent a little bit of time with the Red Sox in 2009, and he finished his career with a brilliant 2010 to the level that you wonder, like, why not come back after 2010? But
Yeah.
Well,
obviously,
he's talked about that. I
yeah,
mean, he said like this is my kids are growing up. And by the way, one of those kids is Will Wagner,
yeah.
who had a really solid debut last year for the Toronto Blue Jays. And he said, I don't want to miss out on them growing up. So I'm retiring now, going to help them, be a father for them. And if I miss out on Cooperstown because I left too early, so be it. Lo and behold,
He
doesn't.
didn't. He
Yeah,
didn't.
and
So
that
Best of all worlds.
excuse or that reasoning seems a lot less disingenuous in Billy Wagner's case because he still was awesome when he retired. A lot of guys who
yeah,
decide to
his
spend
numbers
more
in 2010 are
time
ridiculous.
with their family, I'm like, well, funny that it coincided with the same moment of your
With you
career.
starting to be bad at this
Yeah,
thing
but you were
you
no
do.
longer like able to be as good. And don't get me wrong, I don't knock guys for I know it's very tough as an athlete to make those decisions, but often I feel the spending time with the family excuse seems a little thin. But I think in Billy Wagner's case, it really holds up because you put up those numbers that he did in 2010 at age 38, and you say like he seemed like he could have kept going for several years after that. He was still elite.
He made
Um,
71 appearances that year. 71 appearances and put up an ERA of 1.43 while striking out 104 in 69 and a third. Like those are ridiculous
Yeah,
numbers.
at the age of 38, and
Yeah.
that's how he went out. I mean, that's amazing. That's like Mike Mussina recording his first 20 game season and being like, "All right, I'm done. I'm out of here." But Billy Wagner, you may have seen this mentioned about him. He came up as a starter in the minor leagues. So in his major league career, Billy Wagner appeared in 853 games, 0 starts. In his minor league career, 83 games, 73 starts. So even though he played not very long in the minors, he pitched 415 innings in the minors and 903 in the majors. He got like 40% of his professional career innings in the minor leagues because he was starting throughout that time. And while he never did. So there's that kind of interesting dynamic between his major and minor league career. But yeah, he was a first round draft pick out of what college? I cannot recall off the top of my head. So he was 21 when he debuted, and with the Auburn Astros, the Auburn's pre-Doubleday era. That is a now defunct New York Penn League team. I don't think Auburn has any teams right now, not even summer collegiate or anything,
He was
which
out
is
of a
sad.
school called Ferrum College, by the way, in Ferrum, Virginia, Ferrum. Not familiar with that school.
Aram, yeah. So first round draft pick, Auburn Astros in New York, kind of greater Syracuse era New York. 1994, the entirety of the season with Class A Quad Cities River Bandits, where he went 8-9 with a 3.29 ERA. Did strike out a career high. I mean, because he was a starter, 204 batters, over 153 innings. And that was, Quad Cities are the River Bandits today. But Billy Wagner was a different era of the River Bandits because in between today's River Bandits and Billy Wagner's era, River Bandits, they had a not very well received stint as the swing of the Quad Cities, if you guys remember that, referencing these Quad Cities like jazz history. But it was an awkward name and was never too popular, so they went back to the River Bandits. Then 1995, another team out of the minor league landscape, although they do now have independent ball, Jackson, Tennessee, the Jackson Generals, then up to Tucson, the Toros in the Pacific Coast League. And in 95, that was how he split 95. 96 started the season with Tucson. Well, made his major league debut, 1 game in 95. 96 started the season back in Tucson, got called up, and from there on, it was pretty much major leagues all the way from 96 through that aforementioned incredible finale season with the Atlanta Braves at age 38. Yeah, this guy was dominating throughout.
Yeah, and it's just kind of interesting to look at his career too. You're talking about how he used to be a starter and was a starter throughout his minor league career, even in 96, made 12 starts for Tucson and was pretty solid, 86 strikeouts, 74 innings, a 3.28 ERA. But I think that's back in the day where like guys were really valued for being able to close games. Now we talk about high leverage. If you're getting the 3-4-5 batter in the sixth inning, that's even better than getting the 7-8-9 in the ninth. But I think it seems like, and people can correct me if I'm wrong here, the Astros figured out, hey, this stuff plays in the back of the bullpen, and he's willing to go right after hitters, and we have a closer here. We're going to lock him into this. I think now he would have been a starter probably until he's like 26. Like, keep trying that role. Maybe he's a number 4, number 5. But since he proved willing and able to close out games, and that was such a valuable skill at the time, keep him there. Don't move him. And again, it worked out to his favor, both with his stellar career and now one that ends in Cooperstown.
Before we get off of the Billy Wagner topic, I do have one question for you, Sam, which is Billy Wagner, 16-year big league career, incredible numbers. There is a guy who is also on the ballot this year who I am kind of wondering if we're going to see a groundswell, especially now that Billy Wagner is in, if we're going to see a little bit more of a push to get this guy in. What are your thoughts on K-Rod as a potential, Francisco Rodriguez as a potential Hall of Famer? This year, he ended up getting 40 votes. That's 10.2% of the vote. Really, really similar career numbers. He actually has more career saves all time than Billy Wagner does. Slightly lower WAR. The ERA is about a half a run higher, but strikeouts are comparable. The vast majority of his numbers very comparable. It intrigues me the fact that Billy Wagner has had this run to where he is now, and you look at K-Rod and think like, oh, that's almost the exact same career.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that out, and I know people have made the case too that K-Rod has a better postseason career, which, you can, I think if and I might vote on the Hall of Fame someday. I am a BBWA member, but though I don't vote now, so don't come at me for like, were you the Ichiro guy? I
He
wasn't.
was the Ichiro guy. Sam was the Ichiro guy.
Yeah, I didn't vote for
Just
Ichiro
kidding.
only because I didn't vote.
This is how a number one suspect emerges. The one who's most vociferous.
It wasn't me, I promise. Okay, Sam.
I have 9 years until I vote. I have a very long time. But with Francisco Rodriguez, I think you make a lot of solid points there, Tyler, and I think it's always going to be an interesting discussion because relievers, like Ben said, like he had 400 plus innings as a starter in the minor leagues and only 900 in the majors. I mean, he didn't impact the game.
Yeah.
He had an outsized like cultural impact because he's a closer, but like otherwise there are starters who pitch 3, 4 times, 5 times as many innings, and aren't going to get a sniff. The thing with Francisco Rodriguez, which I will say very quickly because I haven't dived into this as much as I should. Maybe if I am I don't think he'll be on the ballot, but if I had a ballot, I would dive much more into this. He does have a history of being arrested for domestic violence and charged with domestic violence, and for better or for worse, you can make this judgment on your own. The character clause is a thing as part of Hall of Fame voting, and everybody has to make that decision for themselves. We don't know everything about everybody. It's not like
the only unanimous Hall of Famer of all time, Mariano Rivera, is currently facing some really gross allegations.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. It's not going to be perfect all the time, and I think people have to make that choice for themselves when they vote. But I wouldn't be surprised if that is a consideration, especially I think next year we're going to see a crest in this. It's been some really loaded ballots. You can only vote for 10 guys. If you get to a point where Billy Wagner's on his final ballot and you want to get him on there,
right?
Yeah, you're going to choose him over Francisco Rodriguez. We'll see how that goes from there. Billy Wagner, I believe, when he was first on the ballot, only got around 10% of the vote. And we saw that increase from there. So if you're a fan, in Ben's case, of Chase Utley, if you grew up with Dustin Pedroia like I did, like some of these guys who are in that lower range right now but will remain on the ballot, it's very possible to grow in future years. And I don't see anybody who's going on the list next year who is a surefire Hall of Famer and will get serious consideration. Maybe Cole Hamels, but outside of that, maybe a Nick Markakis gets like 10% something. But I think we're going to see a lot fewer full 10-person ballots, and maybe somebody like Francisco Rodriguez gets more consideration that way if people are willing to overlook the off-the-field stuff.
Yeah. It's always fascinating conversation, Hall of Fame stuff. Our final Hall of Famer to discuss, we don't really get to discuss a whole lot about because Ichiro never played a game in minor league baseball. Came over from Nippon Professional Baseball in Japan, where he had had 7 seasons as one of the brightest stars over there. Made it to the big leagues, and it is kind of incredible, but like never had a rehab appearance, didn't get acclimated to baseball in the U.S. by going through the minor leagues, jumped straight into the big leagues with the Mariners and spent the rest of his career in Major League Baseball. So kind of interesting in that regard. And we were discussing prior to starting recording who would have been the last player elected to the Hall of Fame who never appeared in a minor league game. And I have come across this answer while thinking about it. So I want to give you dudes a chance to guess because it, when you think about it, is kind of the obvious person who would first jump to mind, but it's not like super recent either. It's within his Hall of Fame induction was within this century, but not it's not as though this is somebody you're like, oh yeah, 10 years ago this happened. You guys got any idea?
Oh, it happened this century. I mean, Pete Incaviglia should have been elected to the Hall of Fame. He didn't play in the minor leagues.
Um, is it somebody like Buck O'Neill?
No, it is not.
I know Buck O'Neill
It is
got,
not.
much later than he
And this
deserved.
includes the Negro Leagues, of course, not counting as a minor league because they are major leagues. So it changes, what the conversation might have been before a few years ago when that was delineated clearly.
But when this person was elected to the Hall of Fame, it was like a person who was elected not on some veterans committee or
Correct.
whatever you
Correct.
have.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
elected 5 years after his retirement, in fact.
Man,
I feel like this should be fairly obvious.
this should be fairly obvious.
It will be. When you hear it, you'll be like, oh yeah, of course. Ready? Ready? You ready? You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Dave Winfield.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
But what is interesting about that, Dave Winfield, who made his major league debut in 1973, the previous player to that to play in the big leagues and reach the Hall of Fame without pitching in the minor leagues was Sandy Koufax, who made his big league debut in 1955. So Dave Winfield is the only player outside of Ichiro, is the only player to have never played in the minor leagues and make the big league, the National Baseball Hall of Fame since 1950, since a big league debut in 1955, and he did it in 1973. And there are a handful of guys prior to that who did it. Bob Feller, Frankie Frisch, Gil Hodges, Al Kaline, Harmon Killebrew, Ted Lyons, Mel Ott. So there are some players going way, way back, but it's not something that happens very often in the current era of baseball. So pretty amazing stuff. Pretty cool accomplishment. We don't really get to talk about Ichiro's span of his baseball life in terms of his minor league time, but one of my all-time favorite athletes.
Well, it's a major credit to Ichiro, and this is something we
Yeah.
all knew about him, is how durable he was, and how athletic he was, that he never needed a rehab stint.
Yep.
Wouldn't exactly have been hard to get it. Like sometimes guys just don't want to go to the minors and don't want to rehab. But like Tacoma's not far. It's not
Right.
like he would have had to go far if he had a strained hamstring and wanted to get a few at bats.
Right.
The guy was always posting
Yeah.
throughout his career, and he showed up not old, but like he didn't show up young. It's not
Oh,
like
Ichiro's debut season, he was 27 in the big leagues. And he
Yeah.
played fewer than 157 games one time until his age 39 season. He played 157 games his first 2 years, had one season. 2009, he played 146 games. The only times that he was under that mark on a somewhat regular basis, under the 157, was age 39 season, he played 150 games, age 40 season, 143, age 41 season with the Marlins, he was back to 153 game. Like his durability, incredible. And I'm not sure that we'll see an athlete like that in our lifetimes ever again. Just an unbelievable guy. He also played 27-ish total big league seasons, 28 total big league seasons. If you count that last season, 2019, he only played in a couple of games back with the Mariners in Tokyo to finish his career. But he played basically 3 decades full of Major League Baseball, whether it was here or over in Japan. I mean, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's insane to think about and comprehend and think about like when he retired, the majority of his life had been in professional baseball.
Yeah. There was a stat put out by MLB the other day that Ichiro, I believe they said in his 10th at bat, got his third hit as a major leaguer, and his career average never dipped below 300 after that, after 10 at bats into his career. And Ichiro's total number of major league at bats was 3,000, no, check that, was 13,553 in his full scope. In the big leagues, it was 9,934. And he finished his baseball life, if you count the NPB time, as a 322 hitter with an 807 OPS. In the big leagues, 311 hitter with a 757 OPS. And just, I mean, one of the most fascinating and incredible athletes of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I posted this the other day, but growing up hearing stories about Ted Williams, and you're just like, oh yeah, the guy saw the ball like 2010 vision, knew exactly where to hit the ball on plane, do all these things, and you're just like, well, we'll never see a hitter like that again. And then Ichiro came up, and it was like he solved hitting. He just figured out, oh, the whole point is to put this ball in play and put it where the fielders ain't. I'm just going to do that. I mean, I remember hearing constantly growing up, or as a teenager, this guy could hit 30 homers in a season if he wanted to. He chooses not to. He chooses to be a 320, 330 hitter and put it in play and get on base and then use his wheels to, doubles into triples, whatever. And if you watched him in batting practice, he consistently hit homers to the pull side in ways that somebody might try to break him nowadays. But it didn't happen then. He came over at the sweet spot, and it was a real treat to watch him. And then watch him throw. Again, like you would hear stories about Roberto Clemente and how insane of an arm he had. And I'm not saying Ichiro had a similar arm. Maybe Vlad Guerrero had like the best arm of his generation in right field. Ichiro was just as good and probably more accurate. So it just everything about that guy was insanely good and real and lived up to the hype. Which, we're going to talk about this later again. A big Japanese talent is coming over now, and you want to think like, oh, is he worth the hype? Well, Ichiro kind of made sure that, yes, guys can come over and really be as good as you've heard. These are not tall tales from far away. MPB is real. If you are good there, you can be good here.
Ichiro, by the way, got robbed in 2004. He set the major league record for single season hits with 262, put up a WAR of 9.2. He hit 372 with an 869 OPS, and he finished 7th in American League MVP voting behind Vlad Guerrero, Gary Sheffield, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, Miguel Tejada, and Johan Santana. And you look back at that and you're like, what? Are you serious? But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he broke George Sizzler's record, and George Sizzler went on to open some steakhouses, and that steakhouse should be selling steaks in a variety of different state shapes.
They really should. I think that would be a very cool business model. All right, Ben. Well, for folks who would like to, you can go subscribe to Ben's newsletter and check out all of the stuff from Benjamin Hill at MILB.com and MLB Pipeline. And we will catch up with Ben again at the end of the episode for another scintillating edition of Name That Dude. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Well, we talked about the Hall of Fame selections in the 2025 class of the Professional Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. And from one end of the career spectrum, we go to the other, and that is the announcement of the new top 100 prospects list for MLB.com headed into 2025. Guys who hope to one day be on the other side of this conversation and talking about how their careers landed them in Cooperstown. And one of the foremost authorities on the top 100 list for 2025 is Samuel C. Dykstra. And we're going to get to bounce all kinds of top 100 questions off of Sam. Sam, no surprise here. The top prospect in baseball headed into 2025 is the most recent addition to the prospect conversation in baseball, and that is Roki Sasaki of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But behind him, 4 of the next 5 players in the top 6 are outfield prospects. Roman Anthony of the Boston Red Sox, number 2. Walker Jenkins, the Minnesota Twins, number 3. Dylan Cruz, the Washington Nationals, number 4. And Max Clark of the Detroit Tigers is number 6. Max Clark is the second of back-to-back Tigers prospects in the top 6. Jackson Jobe, the right-handed pitcher, is number 5 overall. well. Another Red Sox prospect in Christian Campbell is number 7, second baseman, can also play short, can play in the outfield as well. Andrew Painter in the top 10, the Phillies prospect, obviously he's on the road back from injury, but we know just how great Andrew Painter is. He is number 8. Carson Williams, the shortstop in the Rays organization, number 9. And Travis Bazzana, last year's top overall draft selection, number 10 prospect in baseball, the second baseman in the Cleveland Guardians system. Just first off, before we go into some granular details and some specifics, it feels like every year the top 100 carries with it themes, whether it's, oh, this year we got so much top end pitching talent. This year there are a lot of great power bats. This year we got some corner infielders who are really interesting. What would you say the themes are of the 2025 beginning of season top 100?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. I mean, you mentioned that outfield prospects kind of lead the way on a position player side with Roman Anthony, Walker Jenkins, Dylan Cruz, and Max Clark. And you could throw in Christian Campbell into that group if you wanted. The Red Sox are trying to figure out where he lands. He's got some second base experience, some shortstop experience. He's also played in the outfield a little bit. We'll see where he ends up. I know some scouts think he ends up on the grass, but the Red Sox might have an opening at second base, so Christian Campbell could slot in there. Anyways, I think I don't want to say random, but I don't think there's any overall theme there or trend there. I think it's just we have some athletic players who can really hit the ball well. I mean, Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell, the Red Sox have done a tremendous job of generating bat speed with those guys, getting them to swing harder. In Christian Campbell's case, elevating on contact more so than he was doing at Georgia Tech. In Roman Anthony's case, getting that power to play pull side and getting it to play consistently. When we did an executive poll, and by we, I mean Jonathan Mayo, my colleague, polled a lot of executives in the game. They, before Roki Sasaki signed, overwhelmingly voted for Roman Anthony, number 1. And then, we got some other feedback after that once Sasaki is officially part of the mix and we moved him up to number 1. We can talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, Roman Anthony does everything you want right now offensively. He's already reached AAA. He's only 20 years old. The power is played at every level. He is pretty quick. He might end up being just an average runner, but he can provide value on the base paths as well. Might end up being a center fielder. The Red Sox have a pretty good one in Jarren Duran. They have another really good defensive center fielder in Cedon Rafaela. So maybe he ends up playing a corner, but even then, the bat's going to play anywhere. But I think the big thing for me, and this is a conversation I think we're going to be having for a while as we continue to adjust and try to take in the game and learn where things are moving. Yes, Roki Sasaki is number 1, and he is a right-handed pitcher. Jackson Jobe is number 5, and he's a right-handed pitcher. Andrew Painter, who is coming off Tommy John surgery, but we got to see him in the Arizona Fall League and looked great there. He's number 8, and he's a pitcher. Like, I thought we were heading to a place where we really had to reevaluate pitchers and how we rank them because we're seeing starters no longer going 6-7 innings. We're not seeing guys consistently get over 200 innings for a season. So if you're ranking a position player who's going to play 140 plus games versus a pitcher who, optimistically might have multiple seasons of 180 plus innings, like the position player is going to have bigger impact. Maybe we should fold that into our rankings. But also the strength of pitching right now is insanely good on a pitch-to-pitch basis. We're getting over Roki Sasaki, who just a few years ago was averaging 99 miles per hour on his fastball. It dipped a little bit last year, and we'll see if the Dodgers can get that back up. Jackson Jobe, I wrote his report. You're sitting there thinking, like, this is at least 4+ pitches, and the fastball is playing exceptionally well with good velo. He touched, over 100 miles an hour, over 101 miles an hour in spring training last year. And the slider is pretty consistently believed to be the best breaking pitch in minor league baseball. Plus his changeup's good, his cutter's good. He just needs to stay on the field, but otherwise the pitches are all there. Andrew Painter, 70 fastball, 60 slider, 65 grade control. Given his size at 6'7", that's saying something. I haven't even mentioned Bubba Chandler or Noah Schultz, who are also in our top 20. It's really interesting to see that when we were seeking feedback on this, pitchers were getting pushed up. The guys were saying, like, hey, Bubba Chandler's pretty good. You can move him up a little bit. Noah Schultz, I have my issues with him that the White Sox were very, very, I don't want to say slow playing it with him, but they didn't get aggressive in terms of innings counts and pitch counts last year with him at AA Birmingham. He only threw 88 in the third innings, but The slider is really great. It's a plus plus pitch. The fastball, he's moved to more of a two-seamer than a four-seamer, and it may not miss bats, but he's 6'9". He's going to put that right on top of you, and his changeup's developed pretty well, and he's got a cutter as well. So like, he's only 21 with Double A experience, and he's 6'9". He's only going to get stronger. It's really interesting right now to see what pitching is in the game, and we're coming off a time right where Corbin Burns just signed a massive contract with the D-backs. Yoshinobu Yamamoto signed a massive deal with the Dodgers last year. There's money to be made if you are a good pitcher, and I think that's something that we're also kind of considering here. If that these guys hit their ceilings, they're potentially $200 million plus players by the time they reach free agency.
All right, Sam. The way things are with top end prospects and how quickly they contribute, who do you feel like is in the best position in terms of full on farm systems going into 2025? There's always so much top end level talent in the Dodgers organization, but obviously the Red Sox with a lot, the Tigers with a lot right now. Who else stands out to you as far as teams that it feels like we're going to be hearing big time contributions from prospects in short order?
Yeah. Well, if you look at which organizations have the most top 100 prospects, I'll run through that real quick. The Cubs and Mariners both have 7 each. The White Sox, Tigers, and Dodgers each have 6 each. So those are their top 5 in terms of amount of top 100 prospects. Of those top 5, I think the Cubs are in a really interesting position right now. Yes, they go out and get Kyle Tucker, and he is unless they sign him to an extension, a 1-year rental. So they're in win now mode. And you look at who are their top 100 prospects: Matt Shaw, Cade Horton, Owen Casey, Moises Ballesteros, James Triantos, Kevin Alcantara. All of those guys have AAA experience already. Jefferson Rojas is in at number 97. He's the only one of that group who doesn't have AAA experience. You look at some of these organizations that have done well in recent years, specifically the Dodgers. Yes, they have the stars, and it's great to go out and get a Mookie Betts and a Freddie Freeman. The reason why they win the World Series is because they have depth. They have depth pretty much everywhere. They go through pitching injuries, and they just plug in somebody else, and they keep moving. The Cubs are kind of building themselves in that similar way, and the Orioles were like that for a while now, too. They've graduated a lot of their top guys, but like position players, they were deep for a long time, and they could keep things moving. They made some trades this offseason. Again, that Kyle Tucker deal opened up a spot at third base for Matt Shaw. He's now their top prospect. He's the betting favorite, and I don't mean that literally betting favorite. I mean that colloquially, to be their starting third baseman on opening day, and he's ready. Owen Casey could provide power at some point. Moises Ballesteros, we'll see where he lands defensively, but like the bat's really good. James Triantos has some of the best bat-to-ball skills in the minor leagues, and Kevin Alcantara has already seen the majors for a brief dip last year. Could be maybe a 5-tool talent. We'll see how it all comes together, but he's still only 22 and heading back to AAA. So the Cubs are in a really interesting spot right now. And I'll throw in the Tigers. I think, when you're talking about the best systems in baseball right now, I think you have to throw in the Rays, who don't have a ton. They have 5 top 100 prospects on our list right now. But it's not these big names outside of maybe Carson Williams, but they're really, really good at that next level. I could list off like 6 prospects who I wouldn't be surprised if they make the top 100 at some point this year in that race system. They've done a really good job of that. But I think the Tigers are right there too. I think the Tigers have done a tremendous job of taking players who are already good and making them better. The Jackson Jobs of the world. Kevin McGonigal, who's our number 28 overall prospect now, would easily be the top prospect in any other system. He's number 3 right now for Detroit. But you talk about bat-to-ball skills. He showed better power last year than I think a lot of people expected. Reached high A, then had a hamate injury, and I think that's something that gets lost. I think a lot of people are very excited by what Kevin McGonigal did, but hamates can be difficult to come back from. So I'm not saying we're hedging too much. We've ranked him in the top 30, but I want to see how the power is going to play coming back off the hamate. Then their first round pick last year was Bryce Rayner. Having some conversations with Detroit folks, they were like, "Hey man, we were elated that guy fell to them at number 11. He could be a true shortstop. He has a cannon of an arm. He used to be a pitcher who threw in the mid-90s. It's a pretty good hit tool. It's better power. That's one thing he overcame last year. I don't want to say overcame, but like there were some questions of whether he's going to be a pitcher or a hitter, and he started showing better power and a little bit shorter of a swing to get to that power. And Tigers are looking around and like, yes, they have Kevin McGonigal. Yes, they got Trey Sweeney last year. They have some options for shortstops moving forward, but like Bryce Rayner might be it for Detroit. And if he makes those same gains that Max Clark made, that Kevin McGonigal made, that Tyrone Lorenzo and Jose Briseño, who are their last two guys on the top 100 here, made last year, Lorenzo specifically after the trade from the Dodgers and the Jack Flaherty deal, Bryce Rayner could be a top 10 prospect this time next year. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. So the Tigers have done a really good job of keeping that conveyor belt moving and getting their prospects better. And maybe somebody else from their list makes it this year, Jaden Ham or Hao Yu Lee, or they have some options. But I think this Tigers system is really well rounded, and I would bet on them developing another top 100 prospect who we're not even talking about, maybe.
All right. On the flip side of that, obviously, we're not going to harp too much on teams that are in really bad shape, but there always feels like there is a team that, the top 100 talent is either minimal or non-existent, and the highest ceiling guys might not be what you're hoping for a turnaround. But oftentimes, we see that teams that are competitive at the major league level are there because they have sacrificed some of that minor league talent to bring in big league worthy and ready talent. Who's on the flip side of that conversation? Teams that right now are not exactly sticking out in the prospect realm.
Yeah, well, if you look at there are 4 teams we have right now with only one top 100 prospect. Every organization, and we did not do this by design. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, we have a mandate to get all 30 orgs on here. We don't.
Yeah, it's not the all-star game. Not everybody has to have a representative.
No, no. You would hope every organization would have at least one. It's 100 prospects per ranking. There's 30 orgs. You should have a top 100 prospect in there somewhere. But there are 4 orgs right now with only one: Arizona, Houston, the New York Yankees, and the San Francisco Giants. The New York Yankees have Jason Dominguez, who has been a stalwart on the top 100 for a very long time now, or at least it feels that way. And he's somebody with major league experience. Probably he's going to graduate pretty quickly. I know there's some support out there for George Lombard. There's some support out there for Spencer Jones, even despite the strikeout issues. But the Yankees right now, yes, they are winning at the top level, and that's what you want to do. They haven't had those same gains. Now, they do traditionally do a good job of drafting pitchers and developing those pitchers and knowing who fits their system best. So maybe there's a pitcher who pops this year and becomes that next guy. But right now, it's a more focus on hitters for the Yankees. Houston, they got Cam Smith in that Kyle Tucker deal. He becomes their only top 100 prospect. I am a fan of Jacob Milton. I think he could be a really good center fielder. We'll see how the hit tool kind of develops. He's got a little bit of pop. He can run as well, but he didn't end up cracking our list. And then the Giants have Bryce Eldridge, who is a very, very good first base prospect. He's right there with Jack Caglione for the best first base prospect in baseball. Climbed 4 levels at age 19 season last year, slugs 516, 23 homers. It's plus power for him from the left side. He's 6'7", so it's a massive strike zone, but he seems to make it work so far. So he's going to stick out regardless. They just don't have that next guy. Their first rounder from last year, James Tibbs out of Florida State, maybe he gets on there. Didn't have a great pro debut, so he kind of fell down the list a little bit for us. And the other one I'll throw out there, because we do prospect points, right? You get 100 points for being the number 1 prospect, 99 for 2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the bottom of the list for us are the Toronto Blue Jays. They have 2 top 100 prospects right now, and Arjun Namala, who is their 2023 first rounder, and Trey Savage, who's their 2024 first rounder. I could see both of those guys climbing. Namala was given a midseason break last year by the Blue Jays. He's kind of a victim of there being no short season ball other than the complex. So the Blue Jays pushed him to the Florida State League, struck out a ton, needed a midseason break. Talking to them, they said he underwent some posture issues. He wasn't really giving himself the best chance to hit. So they got him a little bit, better posture, made him more athletic at the plate. He really took off in the second half. Now he can throw really well from the shortstop position. That can paper over some cracks. And then Trey Savage out of East Carolina, there were some teams scared coming out of the draft because he suffered a collapsed lung in the season. Came back in time to pitch against Wake Forest, did really well in that game. Kind of a legendary performance for ECU. But I think a lot of teams kind of got scared by that. And, hearing from the Blue Jays, they're not concerned about it moving forward. They might be a little conservative with him this year because they've dealt with pitching injuries left and right over the years. Ricky Tiedemann is not on this list anymore as he recovers from Tommy John surgery. But if he pitches, the fastball is really good, the slider's really good, the the splitter's really good, and he's got a curveball that he can kind of sneak in there occasionally as well. There's a lot to like with Trey Savage. It's just he needs to show that the collapsed lung is officially behind him, and I think the industry will get behind him as well. But if you're looking at, it's not a particularly deep group. I don't know if there's another guy who's going to really crack through there. I like Orelvis Martinez a little bit, but he's coming off a suspension suspension for a banned performance enhancer. So there's some questions there. The Blue Jays have some building up to do, and that's part of the heartbreak for not getting Roki Sasaki, right? They've been consistently trying to go after free agents, and he was the big fish after Juan Soto. They missed on Juan Soto. They missed on Shohei Ohtani last year. They are trying to build something there, and they keep becoming the bridesmaid and not the bride. But there's still some potential north of the border.
All right, Sam. Every year we've got big time risers and guys who sort of come out of nowhere at times from the back end of the top 100 to really put themselves on the map. Are there any players who you really feel like have the potential this year to pop? You've named some, but anybody who, comes to mind that you feel like, oh, we could be talking about this person as a top 15, top 10 prospect toward the end of the year. And from that standpoint, is there anyone who right now feels like, similarly to what you were saying a minute ago, guys who have things to prove that if this year does not go that well, maybe some of the shine is off?
Yeah, well, we'll start with the positive one first. And this isn't somebody really on the back end of the list. He's number 56, but those of you who listen to the resolutions episode will know I brought up this guy before, Jesus Made with the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, the amount of feedback I've gotten on this guy being exceptionally good. He's 17 years old, a switch hitter, has only played in the DSL. And that's something I've heard from people like, hey, we can't get too aggressive on this guy because of three letters DSL. He hasn't played over here yet. And that's why he's at 56 and not like top 25 for us right now. It was a good year, 331 average, 1012 OPS, more walks than strikeouts, had 6 homers, 28 steals in 51 games. But the underlying data, Tyler, is just so good on this guy. He doesn't swing much outside the zone. When he does swing, he makes contact. When he makes contact, it's hard contact. His 90th percentile exit velocity right now lines up with Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Jose Ramirez. Right now, I'm not adjusting for age when I say that, or level, or doing anything. It's pure exit velocity. He is as good and hitting the ball as hard as Jazz Chisholm Jr. and Jose Ramirez. That's insane considering where he's going to go from here. And the thing I hear left and right is, is this guy on the Jackson Chourio track? Jackson Chourio had a pretty good DSL year. They pushed him to single A Carolina, and then on he went from there. What I hear about Made is right now he is more physical than Chourio was at the same age. Things that people forget is that Chourio was signed as a shortstop and moved to center field because of some arm issues. Made doesn't have that. Now, that said, I'm not guaranteeing that Jesus Made is going to be a better prospect. He might get a little too big. Jackson Chourio actually, was athletic at this time, and Made's a good runner and all that, and there's things to like on the athletic side, but like, I think he's on a course right now. If he does the same thing with the same underlying data at single A this year, because he's probably going to skip over the Arizona Complex League, according to everything I'm hearing, and we could see him with Carolina very quick in 2025. If he does all those same things, there's no reason why he's not a top 10 prospect in baseball by midseason, if not top 5. There's a huge rocket next to his name right now. So keep an eye out for Jesus Made. A couple other guys that, like you said, have maybe something to prove. I don't want to say Jack Caglione has a ton to prove because he did so much at Florida. The thing I'm watching with him is he had a huge chase rate in college. Now, the guy hits the ball hard in all areas of the zone and even outside the zone occasionally, but pro pitching is going to be so much better. Can he adjust? Can he adjust back? That's something he's talked about. That's something the Royals have talked about with me. They think he's capable of making that adjustment, but he was just so good at Florida, he didn't need to. Now he's going to need to. He was humbled a bit at High A Quad Cities last year. He was humbled a bit in the Arizona Fall League. Can he make that adjustment? We're betting that he can. And even if he still chases a decent amount, he hits the ball so hard he can still hit for a decent average. Another one I will throw out there real quick is Cade Horton with the Cubs. I talked about him before. There's a lot to like. The slider's a plus plus pitch. He can throw hard. The guy's consistently had injuries on the pro side since debuting a few years ago. He was a 2022 first round pick, seventh overall, had 88 in the third innings in 2023. And then in 2024, only threw 34 in the third innings because of shoulder strain. And one I'll throw out there too, and this will go into our next segment here. And I don't mean this as a diss, and this is something he and I talked about. Tink Hence is another guy who hasn't cracked 100 innings yet, but pitch for pitch might be one of the best starting pitching prospects in the game. We don't have a durability grade, right? So he slips a good amount because there is more and more concern that he is going to be a reliever. He's at number 77 right now, but he was added to the 40-man roster last offseason, just a few months ago. He's probably going to open the year at AAA Memphis. You know, his changeup is plus plus. His fastball can touch 98, 99. The slider is a good gyro slider. The curveball can be really good. It was really good back in his amateur days. He just needs to be out there. And he might not be out there until he's already in St. Louis. They're undergoing a youth movement, as we know, in St. Louis. So there's still some stuff here to prove for Tink Hence. But I'm going to use this opportunity, like I said, to pivot into a conversation I had with Tink Hence just this week, the number 77 overall prospect in the game. We talk a little bit about his durability questions, what he's doing, what he was dealing with last year, what he's doing this offseason to move past those, and honestly, what makes him so good as a pitching prospect, namely that changeup. So here's me chatting with Tink. Well, we're joined here by Cardinals right-handed pitching prospect Tink Hence, coming shortly off the Cardinals caravan, also a participant in the rookie career development program this week. So it's been a busy couple of days there for you, Tink. But thanks so much for joining us. First off, you're participating in the rookie career development program right now. You just got done with today's work. Kind of take us through what that's like, and as somebody who hasn't pitched in the majors yet but is closing in on it, what are you taking away from this process?
Really just using the experience and just the intel that the guys got that done went there, and a lot of those guys were kind of like guys that made their debut last year, so just kind of getting an updated version of it, I could say, of like what it's like of getting up there, and then just the adjustments and the different things that they picked up since they've been there. So it's pretty great. I got a chance to hear Skeens talk and Corbin Carroll talk, so it's good to see just you see what those guys doing in the league right now. So just to get any little intel or something that I could use to my game to help me when I get the chance.
Yeah, what do you feel like has been the biggest piece of advice that you've gotten? I feel like hearing from Skeens is probably helpful, being another pitcher, what it's like preparing on the road and all that kind of stuff. But, as you've heard from both those guys and also fellow Cardinals, what have you heard about, like, what's the biggest thing you need to prepare for?
I think you getting there and being yourself, not letting the moment get too big. You know, you're gonna be facing guys that you've been growing up playing a video game with, or just seeing walk through locker rooms. So it's I think just that thing right there, I think gonna be the biggest separator from a lot of guys just getting their chance to debut, is just making sure that you're not making the moment too big. We're all here for a reason. We're really playing it on the same level, right? Once you get to the MLB, that's the highest level of baseball. So just realizing that you're in this position for a reason, and then just going out being yourself, competing and not letting that stage kind of put fear in you.
Yeah, for sure. And you've also, like we were saying before, participating in the Cardinals Caravan, which is a fan event over there in St. Louis. Cardinals fans have known you pretty well over the last few years as you've risen in prospect status, but you were saying earlier how it's been different the closer you get and the more you're getting recognized. Take us through what those couple of days were like over there in St. Louis.
It was a very great experience. It's my third year doing it. It just each year, like I say, it's just getting better and better, and it's just feeling more real, because I'm getting closer to that position. I know a couple years ago they were just saying, "Good luck. Hopefully we see you soon," and now it's kind of like another conversation now, like me letting them know like they will see me soon. So it's great to be able to just continue sharing my story and kind of sharing my mindset of the player that they've been watching and excited about. So I think it's good for not only me but for the fans to get a feel of what type of person and player I am.
Yeah, and as you've gone through this over the years, both as you're climbing closer to the majors, that's one thing, but also I feel like the Cardinals are an interesting spot right now, right? Like there is a little bit of a youth movement going on. Mason Wynn making the team, Jordan Walker getting ample experience there. Guys like Nolan Gorman, Alec Burleson, Brendan Donovan, guys you have been in the minor league system with. How has that changed over the last few years, but also culminating now as there it seems to be a lot more focus on the youth in St. Louis?
I'm very excited. Mainly because we grind. I mean, this is my fifth year, going to my fifth season. So just seeing how it started and just seeing how like a lot of the guys I feel like deserve the opportunity at the next level, just the time that it took for them to get there. So now just seeing the movement into the younger players and see that the younger players are we're holding up their end pretty well. And I mean, I just feel like it's gonna keep continuing to grow. I know I done got a good connection with a lot of the younger guys in the majors, just from big league camp and just being around. So it's good that I got a good relationship with them right now, and then just I know they're supporting. I think there's a lot of things with the younger guys when I was in camp was they were really supportive and just always willing to help or just to give out information and just also just making you feel like you're part of the team even though we're just in the camp. So it felt good to see that, and I'm hoping I could be a big part of helping them get back to where we were.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you took a pretty big step this offseason, getting added to the 40 man for the first time. You were Rule 5 eligible. There was no doubt you were going to be added, as a top 100 prospect with a lively arm. But how did you find out, and how has that changed your offseason now being a part of that official major league roster?
I found out like maybe 2 hours before the deadline on the day of. So it was kind of like you see on the social media different guys being added, and I wasn't really in like too worried about it. I knew like either way it go, like I was willing to accept whatever situation. But I was blessed enough to be added, and just even from since that day, I just mentally I just wanted to make sure I take care of a lot of things that I need to take care of and put myself in the best position. So whenever the opportunity comes, that I'm gonna go and take advantage of my opportunity. So that's been the main thing. Just make sure I'm healthy, figuring out what it's gonna take, the routine I need, and just really taking those steps and becoming a true professional at the next
Yeah,
level.
and pitchers and catchers are right around the corner. I mean, you're heading down to West Palm Beach, to Jupiter specifically, in a few weeks here as part of Major League pitchers and catchers reporting. Where are you at right now in terms of your throwing program and your workouts? Like, as you gear up to head down to Florida, what are you doing right now in those workouts?
I'm doing not necessarily just intense, but it's a lot of just moving and focusing on the things I need the most. I need a lot of stretching. I need a lot of kind of explosive things, a lot of balance things, and I came into this off season with a good plan. I spent some time down in Jupiter right after the season to kind of build muscle. So I'm feeling pretty strong. My weight's holding up. And now I'm in Atlanta, kind of just working on the other things, was kind of cleaning up some things I needed to fix up on the mound and just trying to find the key of staying healthy and going and competing.
Yeah, and staying healthy is such a big emphasis for any pitcher nowadays, obviously, with pitching injuries, but especially in your career as injuries have kind of ticked up a little bit or piled up a little bit. Take us through what you were working with last year. There's some reporting that it was shoulder, chest tightness. What were you dealing with in the middle of the year last year with Springfield?
It was kind of a little bit of the same thing. It's like it's continuing to kind of be kind of the similar things, not nothing major, but I done figured out that the little injuries are kind of injuries that continue to linger on, and you could come back and feel good, and then they could come back. So I think the biggest thing was just realizing that I gotta get stronger. I gotta take care of my body better. I gotta make sure that I take care of those little things, especially like with the lat was a kind of a problem last year.
Mhm.
With it felt good and I was still throwing, but I think eventually over time it just caught up as I continue to throw more pitches in games and go deeper. I think that thing kind of ticked up and it kind of all came to a spot. So I think just trying to get in, really just learning my body and knowing like the real things that's gonna make me healthy to continue playing this game. So I mean, last year was a little bit of lag, come back from there, and then I felt something. I thought it was like in my arm, like kind of like something in my elbow, whatever. It's like kind of like a funny bone incident. I'm like, but I cool down, go throw the ball, and it feel completely fine. Kind of like even that same day, go get an MRI, everything comes back clean. So I think just from that point, it was just kind of more of a mental, kind of just from building up and slowing down and building up. It kind of maybe took a mental toll on me and kind of had me second guessing, was I really healthy or is it hurting? And I mean, after the season, we kind of did an overview, and I mean, just a lot of it was just maybe inflammation. I know my shoulder, I lost a lot of range of motion, a lot of grip strength. So I think it was just the build up throughout the season and just kind of my ups and downs of starting back up and starting all over. I think it just my range of motion, a lot of things got tight on me and I wasn't able to really kind of get it out and get over that hump to continue going. But I mean, I felt pretty good like coming back from it, but I think just it just some things you just got to learn from and figure out what it is so the next year it won't happen again.
Yeah, and specifically with that kind of ghost elbow injury that you're talking about there. Do you remember the timing on that when that seemed to pop up?
It's kind of like when I say I came back from my lat injury and we building up. I was feeling good. It when this kind of was quick. I came back kind of quick, feeling good. I'm like, I think it's good. Bullpens, everything's moving right. Velo was there, and even the day that I felt that thing, like that day I was up to like 98. Everything was moving good, so
Mm.
it was like a long first inning, the heat. So I think a lot of it, like I say, like just taking care of my body. I think maybe it could have been some water situation, or I just was a little dehydrated, a little extra first day back, and then just a weird feeling. But I was glad for everything to come back clean, and I was able to build up out of that and try to finish the season strong. I know I had another incident towards the end of the season that stopped me from pitching in the playoffs, but I just look back at it as I mean, it was just a tough thing, like battling back through injuries and trying to get over that and make sure the mental right. And you thinking you're doing something wrong on the mound, so you change things, and it was just a lot going on. So I know this year just going into, I want to have a plan on what I'm cleaning up and what I'm working on and what to look for, so I can see those signs of, I need to stretch a little more on this or get it with the trainers and stretch and work on this a little bit more just because I'm seeing a difference in my body movements and you know your body tells you a lot. Like if you start to drop your arm a little bit, you might have some like feeling a little tight somewhere else. So just even just picking up on that and just trusting that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. And just to go over, you were talking about fine tuning some stuff, but I want to talk about like what was working when you were pitching last year. You had a 2.71 ERA, 109 strikeouts in 79 and two-thirds innings. Obviously, that's a really good strikeout rate at Double A Springfield. One thing that stands out to me when I'm looking at some of the data on you is just your changeup. It had a 73% whiff rate. Obviously, people know about the velocity on your fastball. It's pretty good, but what do you feel like makes your changeup stand out so much that you are getting swings and misses on like 7 out of 10 swings?
I think I didn't hear like intel, like even from guys that I didn't face through spring training, and a lot of it I think has been it looks like my fastball. Like a lot of guys can't pick it up until is there, and by the time it's there, it's dropping. So I think just I guess with my delivery or the way I'm throwing, I'm trying not to change anything with it. I know it could get better. I know I could get way more consistent with a lot of it on there, but I'm just trying to keep it as simple as I can and really just continue throwing it like a fastball. That's been the biggest thing. A guy say it's hard to pick up. It look exactly familiar coming out the same slot. So I think that's playing a big part into it.
Yeah, and as you've toiled with it over the years, what grip do you feel like has worked best to give it
Uh,
that disguise?
So I'm still throwing like a circle change. I know I done messed around with a couple different grips since I've been in pro ball, but the circle changes has always kind of been the one that I felt the most comfortable with, and I think the changeup is a big field pitch. So if you can feel comfortable throwing it, I think that's the kind of grip that you should go with. I done tried different ones to maybe get less depth on it or get more speed on it. So I think I'm just continue to trust what I got now, and I feel like it should be pretty good pitch for me at the next level.
Yeah, I was gonna say between the data and the feedback you're getting from other hitters, I wouldn't touch a thing until something else changes. But it kind of sticking with that with your pitch mix. I mean, as an amateur, a lot of people were talking about how you had a plus curveball. Now it seems like you're going more towards your slider as your breaking pitch. What went into that decision making process?
Really, a lot of it was really just me having two pitches kind of the same. I went like a couple years where my slider, my curve was kind of similar. So it's like we kind of had to talk about we had to separate them, or maybe you should use this one or this. And I kind of bought into the plan of just using one. And eventually, like I know last year, I brought my curveball back into play more than 2023, and I feel like it was a big pitch for me. But the slider kind of helps make my curveball better because I was able to switch up the movement on it and kind of get more of that gyro harder slider that I seen a lot of guys using it. And I feel like I think it'll play well with my arsenal. And I mean, I came out throwing it, found a good grip in spring training, and just went on with it throughout the season. But I give a lot of credit to my slider because I feel like it opened up me a lane to eventually get my curveball back to where it was when I got drafted.
Yeah, and that gyro movement on it, I think especially it sometimes it looks like it's kind of diving right as it gets to the plate in a good way. It's not
Hmm.
that sweeper that a lot of people are focusing on nowadays. You said you've seen other people throw that gyro. Is there anybody you were focusing on and being like, that's the type of pitch I want?
Not really. I know I see like the Groms and the Coles throwing 90 miles per hour sliders and guys just can't do nothing with it. So I'm like, if they doing it, then maybe I should try it. Then I really got together with the pitching coach. We was working on it in spring, and then it was okay. And I tried a grip from Middleton, a reliever we had last year that we signed with the big league club, and he showed me a grip. I was playing catch with him, just working on it. And I mean, I just continue to trust it and throw it like a fastball. And then I'm seeing the movement on it. I'm like, this is a good pitch. Like everybody's telling me it's a good pitch. So now it's just all about me just going and trusting and being convicted with throwing it.
Yeah, and when it works as well as it has, I think there's again like with the same thing with the changeup. There's no reason to toil with it. All right, well, finally, as we're looking forward here to 2025, and you are on the 40 man, you are somebody with ample AA experience. Are you somebody who allows yourself to think about what that major league debut might look like?
I mean, I think every day I wake up imagining or dreaming, or I'm in a bullpen and just dreaming about it. So I think I'm very excited for it to come. I know a lot of people waiting on it. I know I've been waiting on it. Family excited, and I mean, just to be added to the 40 is just one step closer, one call away. So it's just for me, just not really like I said earlier, not trying to make it too big, but I know like the adrenaline is gonna be crazy. Like I threw in the futures game, the adrenaline was crazy. So I just know the debut is probably like 10 times there or maybe even more. So I'm just really ready to get there and just show the fans what they've been waiting on and just kind of take that day in and really just realize all the sacrifices and the time, my family, all the stuff they sacrificed for me to be here. I think that's gonna really be the biggest thing for me when I finally accomplish that achievement.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people are waiting for that day, and hopefully we'll see how the spring goes and potentially move to AAA Memphis. But Tink, thanks so much for joining us. All the best moving forward, both this spring and into the summer. And yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that MLB debut maybe sometime this summer.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once tried to climb to great heights on the ball field. The others never even established themselves on the ground floor. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. Bye-Bye North. B. High West. C. Low Middle. Oh boy, howdy, your head is pointing in the right direction if you picked B, High West. Born James Hiram West in Roseville, Illinois in 1884, High greeted professional baseball in 1905, making the major leagues with the Cleveland Naps of the American League that very season and saying hello to the majors again in 1911, waking up with the Naps once more. Although he was twice in the bigs, High's greatest heights might have come in 1908 when he chucked a no-hitter for the American Association's Toledo Mud Hens in a 7-0 win over the Milwaukee Brewers on August 16th. Described in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune that spring as in splendid condition, and a pro who has developed into an able hurler. West was in his second of 6 straight seasons with the Mud Hens. And holy Toledo, did High make an impression there. His name is still chicken scratched all over the Mud Hens record books. If you look north, south, or east in those pages, you'll be looking at West. Victories? High West, 85. Innings pitched? High West, 1,313. Strikeouts? High West, 567. Shutouts all time? High West, 22. Shutout single season? High West, tied for first with 8 in 1910. And who's that tied for sixth with 6 in 1908? Hello, it's High West, unsurpassed with those Toledo records. Eventually, High said bye to Toledo and headed west. In the West, West wasn't what West once was, but he did continue to pitch at a high level. The Pacific Coast League, in fact, offered probably the best baseball outside the majors. And out there on the West Coast, West played for the Portland Beavers in 1913 and 1914, and before he was through, also appeared in games for the Vernon Tigers, Salt Lake City Bees, and San Francisco Seals. He seemed to be done with pro ball after the 1916 season. He was going to be 32 years old, but was signed by the Sacramento Senators to come out of retirement for one final go-round in 1918. Getting that deal because he was past draft age and safe from being called upon to serve in the Great War. Papers reported that he was therefore considered a valuable addition to the team before he retired for good. The sun set on West in the West. The Sporting News marked his death in Los Angeles at the age of 78 in 1963. And that's how High West sank into the horizon. Now on to the question for next time. Which of these teams played clean despite a fishy reputation in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Oyster Bay Scrubbers. B. The Marlin Bathers. C. The Chinook Washers. Want to know the answer? Lather up. Or, tuning to the next, Ghost of the Miners. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is shoveling the stoop, and he won't get the hard-to-reach places if I don't stand up straight.
Final segment of this week's episode of the show. Before the show, huge thanks to Tink Hence for stopping by, as well as to Josh Jackson for stopping by on this week's episode. And before we get out of here, it is time for the latest edition of Name That Dude. This week, for the first time in quite some time, I am the dude knower, which makes Ben and Sam the dude guessers. You fellas ready to guess? You ready to guess a dude?
Let's go for it.
All right. So, Los Angeles Dodgers pitchers have been in the conversation this week. And I already told you this is a pitcher. I was dumb. All right. Drafted in the first round of the 2003 MLB first-year player draft, this pitcher made his professional debut in the Dodgers organization in 2003 in the rookie-level Pioneer League with the Ogden Raptors. He then made it up all the way to High A and then Double A in 2004 with the Vero Beach Dodgers and the Jacksonville Suns. He was back with the Suns in 2005, up at Triple A in 2006 with the Las Vegas 51s. He then made his big league debut in 2006, only returned to the minor leagues for a rehab appearance with the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes in 2013 and one more in 2014. 2015, he spent the final season of his big league career with Benjamin Hill's Philadelphia Phillies. He did pitch 7 games that year for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. Who is that dude?
I mean, I knew it wasn't Kershaw even before you said the Phillies, but that's a very similar, it's a Kershaw-esque timeline in terms of like,
first round pick, ascending quickly, making it to the big leagues. Similar track, not nearly the longevity of Clayton Kershaw, but a guy who pitched in the same rotation as him for a while.
2015, you say?
Yeah.
Chad Billingsley.
Hey, Ben nailed it. The first guess. I was going to say there is one hint that will give this away very quickly. But yeah, Chad Billingsley. He was drafted out of Defiance, Ohio, a very cool name town. Made his big league debut and pitched all the way through 2013 with the Dodgers. Made a couple of appearances with Rancho in 2014, missed all of that season with the exception of those appearances with injury. And then 15, his last season, Chad Billingsley. Chad Billingsley is the guy. He's one of those dudes who I'm like, what's he doing nowadays? He's got to be coaching or doing something, I would imagine. I don't know if well, according to Wikipedia, so you know it's wrong. He was named the head coach of a high school in Pennsylvania in 2018. But it says that he resigned from that position in 2021, but then it also says in parentheses, can't be verified. So I don't know. Maybe he's still coaching. If you know what Chad Billingsley is up to these days, please let us know.
They got detectives on the trail still trying to figure out what happened.
Figuring out where Chad Billingsley, where have you gone, Chad Billingsley? But yeah, Chad Billingsley, a really good career there for a while. He had some very good seasons with the Dodgers. He was an all-star in 2009. He was one of those guys who it always felt like, all right, well, he's going to go out. He was the quality start guy. Chad Billingsley is going to give you 6 innings to give up 3 runs. That's it. But yeah, really good starting pitcher for a little while for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that's that.
Yeah.
That was
I surprised myself with that one because I couldn't tell you much about Chad Billingsley. I think it was thinking about Kershaw first, knowing it wasn't, and then trying to think of
longtime Dodgers.
Yeah, Dodgers who came up around that time, and then it seemed like, do I remember Chad Billingsley on the Phillies? Not really, but it seemed, yeah, that sounds like the kind of guy who'd be on the Phillies during a pretty poor era of the Phillies. Nothing against Chad Billingsley, but someone who you just wouldn't remember because it wasn't like during
the thing I remember about Chad Billingsley most was the thing that I also remember about his teammate Jonathan Broxton, which was that they were both very largely sort of avocado built pitchers. You know what I mean? Chad Billingsley was listed at 6'1", 240. Jonathan Broxton was listed at 6'4", 285. Like if the Dodgers needed to put together like an offensive line at that time, they would have had some options. They had some big bodied guys. They were scary dudes. All right, you guys. Well, that'll do it for a very quickly guessed Name That Dude on this week's episode of the show before the show. If you know what Chad Billingsley is up to these days, please get in touch. Let us know. If you are Chad Billingsley and you want to come on the show and talk about your time in the minor leagues, we would love to have it.
Or what happened when you resigned from that?
Yeah, what was the deal with that high school job? They couldn't appreciate the brilliance of Chad Billingsley. And if you want to get in touch with us for anything else, podcast at MILB.com. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. For Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill, my name is Tyler Mon. We'll catch you next week.